In this video, I am going to teach you some great ways to gather and use information in Ranked Halo Infinite. When you are playing Halo, how often do you feel like you're being taken by surprise by the enemy? How often do you feel like you're playing blind or that you can't seem to round a corner without multiple enemies waiting for you? How often do you get backsmacked in a game? If the answer to any of these questions is more than you'd like, I have just the tips to help you in this video. The problem is that you're not utilizing the information available to you on the map. In this video, I have 5 things for you to work on that will keep you from feeling lost in the sauce during your Halo games. Before we get into those, however, I want to explain why these things are important to utilize. This entire video was inspired by a single thing Frosty said during a stream while he was playing with Gunplexion. They were duo queuing together soon after the CU29 update, which has been famously known to have destroyed any semblance of normal matchmaking. Now, Frosty and Gunplexion are top-tier players, but their teammates they were being matched with were not. To set the frame of the situation, this was an Argyle CTF. Both teams had each other's flags in a stalemate kind of situation. Frosty was getting frustrated that his teammates were pushing to get the flag back without really thinking or making a play. The line that got me thinking was Frosty telling his teammates,
"No, we cannot push up until we know where they are, bro."
Something about this just started rattling in my brain as I started to think of all sorts of different scenarios in Halo where I or my teammates would try to make moves or to make a play without having any information on the map. Now, the trick to winning in this game is not having a perfect shot, getting nasty headshots with a sniper. It is about having more information than the other team and being able to act on this knowledge with the right timing.
There we go, there we go, now we go, now we go, now we go. Now we fucking go here.
So how do we obtain this information? That is what I'm here to tell you, so let's get started. Number 1, learn the spawns and the maps. Don't kid yourself. If you don't know the spawn mechanics of Halo, this is where you must start. There are tons of resources online, tons of videos you can go watch. I'll link some down in the description that help not only with the spawning of the map, but how to manipulate both team spawnings based on your positioning. If you don't know the maps and the callouts, well, there's resources out there for those as well. Learn the maps, learn the spawns of the maps. It's important to be familiar with spawning so you know how much time you have to work on an objective or to know where to position yourself defensively for incoming spawners or to know where to move next to be aggressive on spawning enemy players. Spawning is key in this game. Learn it, figure it out, practice it. Number 2, be aware of your teammates' actions. As important as it is to have information on the enemy, you also need to know what your teammates are doing. Luckily, it's so much easier to know what your teammates are doing in Infinite compared to old Halo titles, because you can literally see them through the walls. Now, there are several things you can do to gain information from your teammates quickly. The first one, when you spawn, do a quick survey of where your teammates are. This is the best way to get the lay of the land, and it will give you the best course of action you should take next. Next is using audio cues. Using audio cues to know when your teammate has entered a fight. If you can hear gunshots nearby, you might be in a situation to assist in teamfighting. Get in there. Another is to watch out for pings. These are sometimes really easy to miss, especially when they're not marking an enemy exactly where it gives you the enemy color, just in a general area. However, more than likely, a teammate pinged for a good reason, and ignoring that information can cost you life, or a cap, or the game. Number 3, listen to callouts. In almost every video I've done on Halo, and probably ones I'll continue to do, I mentioned the importance of callouts. If you're not calling out during your games, start. It's the best and easiest way to get everybody on the team on the same page. I'm not going to harp on the critical nature of you using callouts in this video, even though those are super important. Right now, I'm referring to listening to callouts by your teammates. This is difficult to do. There's no two ways about it. You need to be able to hear what your teammates are saying, parse the information, and react all within a short time frame, or you need to cue that information in your mind for when you're finished with whatever you're in the middle of, like a gunfight. So let's talk about these things. Hearing the callouts. Something you will have to train yourself to be better at is to actually focus on the act of listening. Listening takes effort, and your shots might suffer a bit while you're training your ears to stay open. It's hard to do, but it's well worth it. Next, parsing the information. When you hear a call out, you might be getting all sorts of data such as location, how many enemies there are the enemies weak, where they might be going, etc. Your job as a teammate is to be able to act on a call out from a teammate if able. Each call out that you hear, you must make a decision on whether or not you are the teammate able to assist. Reaction. Timing is everything. If you're too slow, your teammate might die. A flag might be capped. The enemy's shields might regenerate. However, if you're quick to react on the called out information, you'll find games are much easier to win. And then lastly, the post response. One thing that I have noticed that is super helpful is to kind of cap off the end of a call out. If someone says one shot mid-bridge and you end up getting that kill saying mid-bridge dead, frees up the rest of the team's mental cache from that call out. The reasoning here is that no one else has to look at that spot to make sure he was killed. Number 4, watching the kill feed. One of the most important parts of Halo is timing. For example, if you kill all 4 players on the other team in a CTF and then take your sweet time getting to the enemy flag, you'll find yourself surrounded by freshly spawned enemies around you. However, if your team is able to slay those spawners as they come up, so you do another round of slaying, a flag pull becomes safer because you're not trying to rush out of the base with the flag. So, how do you decide on whether to pull or to slay? Well, one of the best ways is to watch the kill feed. It's easy enough to glance and to see your team's color versus the enemy's team color. But the tricky part is taking a mental note of how many of each appear and time actions based on it. In simpler terms, don't pull the flag unless you're up in numbers. This helps in other game types too, such as King of the Hill or Oddball. In King of the Hill, for example, it's generally not a good idea to be in the hill if you are the last person alive on your team. Makes sense, right? Well, the best way to know when it's a good idea to get hill time or not is the kill feed. Optionally, hitting select or tab shows you who's alive on both teams, but that can be kind of interrupting comparatively. This is a skill I'm working on myself. It's hard to count who's alive and who's dead based on just the kill feed, but if you practice it, it helps tremendously. Number 5, and the last one. This one's a little bit more abstract. So number 5 is being present on the map. So what do I mean by being present? Well, something that I believe to be true when working on developing a skill is that whenever you find yourself going through the motions, you'll fall into bad habits. In other words, you have to focus on the things you want to improve on to actually improve on them. I believe that when you're just playing the game and not putting any effort into something specific to work on, you're going to start playing on what I just call autopilot. This is why I have to stop playing when I'm tired. I fall into autopilot and I just start playing like I'm playing Social Slayers. It does not help me win games. I start to lose focus, and I just kind of run and gun all game, which leads me to losing my 1v1s and eventually the games. So, back to being present. What I mean is instead of focusing so hard on the objective, or focusing so hard in getting a single kill, try to be aware of the entire map. If this means stopping your Spartan and simply not moving for a beat while you catch up to what's going on around you, then do it. One thing I've noticed, and I've mentioned Gunplexion already in this video, but one thing that I've noticed that Gunplexion does is he will literally find a spot and stand there for a few seconds, just waiting for information to come in. I believe this is a free-for-all skill because on small maps and free-for-all, there's always going to be someone coming around the corner if you just give it a second. Your actions in this game need to be purposeful, not just reactionary. There are definitely reactionary elements to engagements and all that, but overall, you need to have some kind of plan going into a play. So how do you make a plan? Well, you gather information on the map and create a path forward in your head, then execute. This happens dozens of times every game, and it's something that you're going to struggle with before you get good at it. With all the various elements to Halo, it is critical to think before you act. Well, that's all I've got for you in this video. If you like Halo content like this, please like and subscribe, as well as comment on what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. I'm making my way up to Onyx again. I'm just about to break back into Diamond 3 with this crazy matchmaking that's going on right now. Hopefully next week they make it a little bit easier. But until then, peace out. God bless.